I want to bring up something that's kind of hearsay in our autistic community, and I haven't been able to find any good official information on it, so if anyone has anything, let me know. It's about autistics having childlike physicality, so, in their bodies and also in a lot of their neurology as well, even though we intellectually mature. It's not as if we're like at the emotional level of a 4-year-old or 2-year-old or whatever, but there's certain aspects that are childlike that we always retain. It's pervasive development, it's deferred development. And that those things can be a real blessing because those things are involved in the whole thing that I said about being out-doctrinated. We continually ask why and question, and we don't take it face value, and we have a sort of outside looking in view of things. The other thing that I wanted to say was that physically we seem to have these childlike bodies, and also like autistic people are often hypermobile, and it's really interesting. And I was even evaluated for Ehlers-Danlos because of it, soft skin, hypermobility. I've noticed it with a lot of us, young, very young looking and whatever. Little kids are hypermobile like that, but people lose that, and we seem to not lose it. Even when we're, a lot older, like I've met self-identified Aspies or even diagnosed Aspies in their, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Coolest people ever. I'm looking forward to being an Aspie cougar. No offense to use that term, but I can see it right now. I can already see that I could become that, and maybe I already am that. Aspies are young at heart. We don't ever get this old crusty Martha, have some tea, or Harold grumpily cutting his grass, grumpy old man. We don't really get that. I can never really tell the age of somebody when they send me a message or email or something. When they're Aspie, then they say, "Oh, I'm in my 60s" or something, and I'm like, "What? Really?" It doesn't. You can't see. We're ageless that way. Aspies are ageless in a lot of ways. Yes, we do age, but even when we sort of age, we age differently, and it's almost like aging by anti-aging, which is really interesting. I've seen Aspies in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they seem to still retain this really soft, smooth skin. If anything, it's like the Ehlers-Danlos, the skin might start to sag a little bit, or I don't know, we just age differently. There isn't really a wrinkling. It's some other type of wear and tear, but it's not really a wrinkling. It's really peculiar. It's very curious. It leads me to think about, the genetics, and we do have these facial features, we really do. We totally have these facial features. Very peculiar. So another thing I was going to point out is that when I'm acutely ill, I often fall through the cracks because a lot of the symptoms that I display are apparently, I remember one time describing my symptoms, and some of them were I was acutely ill, and I think I might have had, I don't know, low-grade food poisoning or something, or some sort of, not quite sure, flare-up or something. But this doctor was like, "Well, we've never seen that. We only see that in children." And I was like, when I get acutely sick, I get hit hard, but I can recover quickly. So that's very much like a child, right? So anyway, I'd love to see some more research on this because it's really fascinating. For elfin of the forest, yeah. and it's not just me. This is hearsay in our community, Aspies, autistic people. I say Aspie, it's a pet name for, Asperger's syndrome, autism, same deal, synonymous. I consider myself actually clinically autistic, but I say Aspie sometimes. It just slips out, it's easy to say, Aspie. So yeah, Aspies, all of us have this experience to some degree. We all have this, even though we all look different, we all have that kind of thing. I don't know how to explain. You can tell in our physicality a little bit. So it's very interesting. It's fascinating. So that's all I have to say.